You're listening to Release Your Resistance with Bex Beltran, episode 115. Welcome to Release Your Resistance. This is Bex. The only reason why any of us don't have what we want in life is because of our own resistance. Right now, I'm learning how to recognize and release my resistance, and this podcast tells you how you can release your resistance so that you can live the exact life that you want. Let's get started. Welcome to my 2022 end of year review. This is one of my favorite episodes to prepare and produce each year, and here we are in season 3 of the Release Your Resistance podcast. Just like in seasons 1 and 2, I have spent some time reviewing all of my monthly interviews that I did with myself once a month, each month of this past year. I've compiled all of the answers and I've looked for through lines and patterns and repetitions, things that stand out, and new information. And I've also reviewed my previous 2 end-of-year reviews to see what overarching patterns or through lines or plot points there are, and I found a few. So I am very excited to share my reflections of 2022 with you. I hope that this episode gives you something to think about. Maybe it reminds you of something that you have experienced in 2022. Maybe it gives you something to consider as you start a fresh new year. Maybe you find something that you have in common with me. Or maybe you find something about which you and I are complete polar opposites. It's all good and it's all fun. And I invite you to do this practice with me in the coming year if you haven't started it already. It's one of my favorite things that I do. I get so much awareness and enjoyment from both the monthly interviews as well as the year-end compilation. It's just a really great self-reflection exercise. First, let's talk about the carryover from previous years. As I was reviewing the last 2 end-of-year reviews, I saw the pattern of what I am going to call the August slump. I live in Arizona. It gets very hot here in the summer. I have noticed that I hibernate in the summer because I tell myself it's too hot to go out or to do anything. By the time the summer rolled around this year, I had forgotten about last year's advice that I gave myself only 6 or 8 months earlier, that I needed to proactively set a goal or create a project or something for me in August. Coincidentally, I did set a goal of finding and painting a number of dog portrait commissions, but then I backburnered that goal by deciding to plan and carry out an elaborate anniversary party instead. In 2022, I made it through my August slump by obsessing over party details. A big question for me in previous years has been finding balance. Reading my interviews this year, it seemed like I have allowed the pendulum to swing extremely in both directions, and I am now, for now, finally coming to a natural set point. The distribution of balance to productivity is not as work-heavy as I assumed it would be. And I am starting to accept that after 2+ years of resisting it without realizing it. Projection is still a hot topic for me, as it has been in prior years. As minds often do, my mind let me think that thinking about projection is a new fascination for me recently, even though I mentioned it last year and maybe the year before too. I figured out my word for 2022 just about halfway through. Experiment. I thought, what a novel and unique and fun word of the year. And then as I re-listened to the 2020 and 2021 end-of-year reviews, I realized experimentation has been a running theme for me for years now. I want to read to you how I felt throughout the past year. These are some of the words that repeatedly popped up in my interviews as I checked in with myself each month. I really like these words. I want to give myself credit for feeling these feelings and living these concepts in 2022. I am sharing them with you now to inspire you. Maybe you can even borrow them and plant them as seeds in your psyche to carry forward into 2023. Engaged, possibility, productive, momentum, balance, open, optimistic, meditation, creating, completing, showing up, purpose, purposeful. Things are going my way. As I read those out, I do notice that those concepts and the way that I was feeling didn't exactly describe what I just mentioned a moment ago about my distribution and my balance being more on the relaxed side versus the driven side. But I think that is probably part of my misunderstanding about myself. I can feel relaxed while I am engaged in something, while I am imagining the possibility of something. I do not have to be taking any action on it in that moment. I'm certainly more balanced when I am feeling open and optimistic and purposeful. I want you to think about those words and how they might fit into your life as well. And I want to share some of the different media and pop culture that I have consumed, and I really love being a consumer of culture, as you may know. So I have a new favorite author from 2022. Her name is Dr. Wendy Suzuki, and she has written a few books, which I have really enjoyed. The first book that I read by Dr. Suzuki was called Healthy Brain, Healthy Life. It's a personal program to activate your brain and do everything better. Wow, what a great title. Of course I wanted to read that book. The thing that I love so much about that book was, yes, of course, it was a personal program, but it's very personal to Dr. Suzuki. She actually wrote the book, in my view, like a memoir, and she shared her own reported path of how she activated her brain and how she learned to do things better in her life. So I really loved hearing her personal story, as well as all the evidence-based examples and suggestions that she gave. Then the second book that I read, at first I thought, I don't know if I really need this book. Maybe this is not for me. But I like her as an author and as a teacher, and I know some people that I interact with and some of my clients care about this topic a lot, so I decided to go ahead and read the book. The title of the book is Good Anxiety: Harnessing the Power of the Most Misunderstood Emotion. And I just have to say, I was wrong that I wouldn't like it. I loved it. I even thought about creating a study group around it so that I could discuss it weekly with other people. I loved all of the examples and the advice and the tips and the strategies that she shared. So if you're a person who struggles with anxiety, or if you are a person who does not struggle with anxiety, I still recommend the book. I really enjoyed it. There were many new to me podcasts in 2022, but I will just mention two of them. The first one is called You're Wrong About. It's a journalist who does a deep dive into and researches topics that were reported on in popular culture, but that we may be wrong about. The episodes that I've listened to have mostly been two people discussing the topic that they both researched, and both of the hosts bring their own perspectives and memories about how they heard about or learned about whatever the subject is. They get together and they reconsider a person or an event that has been miscast in the public imagination. And I love it. I love hearing all the behind the scenes, dug up research that I wouldn't have thought to look for or even wonder about. I have not listened to the podcast in a binge style where I listen from the first episode to the next and all the way through. Some of the topics are pretty heavy for me, so I usually scan the list of episodes, and if I have the emotional bandwidth for a deep dive into what may be a disturbing topic, then I'll try it out. I have told other people about this podcast and they've listened and we've discussed. It really has caused me to think critically about a lot of the ways that I consume media and news and pop culture events. On the complete other opposite end of the spectrum, the other podcast that I started listening to this year and have been binging from the very first episode now all the way through and loving so much is Office Ladies. It is fully 100% entertainment for me, but I have also learned so much about the behind the scenes of how television shows are made And I have picked up some very random trivia too. The Office was an NBC TV show, and two of the actors from that television show became best friends throughout however long the show was running. Those two actors, Jenna Fisher and Angela Kinsey, maintained their friendship after the show, and they decided to start a rewatch podcast where they go back and watch all of the episodes and then share their own behind-the-scenes experiences. They interview people who helped produce the show, like the props director and the set decoration and writers and directors and camera operators, and all of these things that maybe the average non-entertainment adjacent consumer wouldn't ever think about when we watch a TV show. I love their friendship. I love the way that they interact with each other and their guests. And you really get a sense of their humor and their thoughtfulness. Even if you didn't ever watch that television show, if you are open to watching it, maybe just watch the first episode and then go listen to the first episode of the Office Ladies podcast. See if you like that combination of seeing it and then hearing people talk about it. It might be fun for you. So I have some fiction recommendations that I read in 2022 as well. All of these book recommendations have a common theme about strong/damaged female characters who maybe we could say behave badly without giving too much away. And I didn't plan the theme up front. That's just how it happened. So the first book to recommend is called Who is Maud Dixon by Alexandra Andrews. There is a vacation and travel aspect to it, so there is a little bit of adventure and there is a murder mystery. And I remember the day that I read that book. That night, I went out with some friends and I was like, oh, you have got to read this book. It is so good. So yeah, I'm telling you the same thing. If what I have mentioned piques your interest, go find it and read it. The next book is called Reckless Girls by Rachel Hawkins. And this book is also about travel. It's about a desert island and first vacationing on that island, but then feeling a little trapped on the spooky island with these other characters who we aren't 100% sure of. There's some mystery and some suspense there as well, and we're not sure of the characters who is who they say they are. And then the third book is called Never Saw Me Coming by Vera Kurian. I don't think I've ever read a book like this before. I found it very fascinating and entertaining. The story is that there are students who are part of a clinical study of psychopaths. Oh, they all come together in this study led by a psychologist at a university, and he wants to learn about the psychopaths, about their moods and their movements. And so the psychopath students are all mixed in with the general student population without being identified as psychopaths. They're just going to school with them, and then there's a murder. So the characters have to figure out who's who and what's happening. Let's talk about my surprises of 2022. If you would have told me or foreshadowed these surprises for me in January of 2022, I would have been very doubtful. I wouldn't have believed what you were telling me. But of course, in hindsight, these surprises have incorporated themselves into my life in such a lovely way, and they do make sense. Backing up a little bit, in 2021, I was grieving not only the loss of my dog, but some same-age dogs of my friends and family who I spent a lot of time with and frequently dog sat. And I was really close with all of these dogs, my own, of course, but also the other dogs who would stay with us whenever their families were out of town. Then, through some weird coincidences in 2021, it worked out that I got to dog sit for some random people who I randomly met who had the most adorable dogs. That was not a sought-out experience. That just all came together very easily and luckily. And it brought me so much love and joy and companionship, and I just love having a little dog nearby and working with me and hanging out with me, and sometimes I love having this little sweet little face to focus all my attention on. So in February of this year, of 2022, I was telling my friend Deirdre, who is a sometimes listener of this show, hey Deirdre, that I just wish there was a way that I could get more people to bring their dogs to me so that I could hang out with them in my house because I really love that. And she told me there is a way. I can have that. There's an app for that. So I signed up for the app and I created my profile and I made myself available, and immediately someone brought their dog for the long weekend. So lovely. It was so fun. And then another person brought their dog, and some more people brought their dogs, sometimes just for a day. Some people brought them for a few days or much, much longer. So I have met so many sweet, loving dogs this past year. My home has been full of dogs, one or two at a time. It has just been the most fun thing. What a fun surprise. In April, while journaling, I had the idea, maybe I need to meet a new, fun, interesting friend or get a new hobby. Okay, so two different things. I have met many fun, new, interesting friends this year, but let's talk about the hobby. My mind did think that maybe getting a new hobby would be a good plan for me. I had no idea what the new hobby might be, or if I would take any action towards it, or if anything would come of it. And then in May, I got this little brainstorm, a little nudge about how I could transfer photos of dogs into miniature canvases and then use some paint to embellish the photos and have kind of like this mixed media work of art. So I tried, and they didn't turn out at all. They were really, really ugly. But I thought, okay, back to the drawing board. This project didn't work out the way that I wanted it to, the way I was envisioning it. It would probably be better just to skip adhering the photo to the canvas and just paint the dog directly onto the canvas. So I needed to figure out how to paint a dog. I have painted dogs before. I have taken art classes, and those dogs that I painted, although great paintings, didn't look the way that I was envisioning these dog art pieces that I wanted to make, how I wanted them to look. I had a very specific vision and very high standards for myself. So I found some teachers online. I watched some tutorials. I joined some programs that specifically taught me how to paint dogs. I practiced and I studied and I learned the techniques. I bought the supplies and I tried and I got better and I kept going. And then I set a goal for myself in June that I would paint 30 dogs in 30 days just to really show myself that I could. And I did. So now I have a brand new hobby / income stream of dog painting. I have given dog paintings as gifts, and now I also offer dog paintings as commissions and another stream of income for my business. It is such a great new hobby. Who would have known in April, when I just wrote that innocent little idea in my journal that maybe I needed a new hobby, that all of this would come of it. So let's talk about some of my new experiences in 2022. I started using my own journals for my daily journaling. Backing up a little bit, I did start creating my own journals and notebooks in 2021. I was my own first best customer because I created the journals that I wanted for myself. But those were all for specific purposes, like bright ideas and brainstorms and birthday lists and my own planner / calendar. For my morning journaling, I was still using my COVID supply of journals that I had bought in bulk back in March of 2020 when I was afraid I wasn't going to get the style and size of journal that I wanted while everything was under supply chain restrictions. By the end of 2021, I had used up that supply, so I decided that I would start using my own journals for daily writing in 2022. And that's been really fun for me to be a daily consumer of my own creations and get used to a slightly different size and feel from what I had been using for the past few years. But I love looking at my bookshelf and seeing all of my own journals with my own meaningful cover designs and inspirational phrases on the front. Another fun new experience was something that I found in January, and I wasn't sure what would happen with it. I didn't really have any big expectations, but I frequently get into this mode of deciding that I want to go somewhere new, like once a week or maybe once a month, or I want to try only new places, or I only want to support local businesses. I frequently get into these little modes of seeking out these specific experiences. And in January, I needed a gift for someone. So I wanted it to be local and I wanted to go somewhere new that I had never experienced before. There's a spa near my house called Clover with no E. So I walked in one day and I said, I might want to get a gift certificate, but I would also love to have a tour. So they showed me everything and they told me about their membership program. And I went home and thought about it and looked at their website. And so I went back the next day and signed up for the membership. And of course, I bought the gift card. And I've been going to that spot ever since. One of the best features that my husband and I both love so much is the chill lounge. They have these massage chairs. On the tour, they showed me that they have this dark little room with soft music playing and these beautiful landscape images on the television with these 4 massage chairs. And I said, oh, that's nice, but that's not really something I will take advantage of. I have sat in massage chairs when I get a pedicure and I find it really annoying and jarring and not relaxing at all. So I thought I'm not a person who enjoys massage chairs. But I was wrong because these massage chairs are different. They recline and they have this air pressure that compresses your arms and legs, and they have a heated seat and they do all sorts of different program settings, and I never knew that it could be like this. So as part of my membership, my husband and I get to go whenever we want to sit in the chairs. So we'll go and do a 30-minute routine on the chair before we go grocery shopping or just in the middle of the day before we start work. And it has been such a great new experience that I love so much. Plus, I started getting regular facials and I go there for a pedicure once in a while, and I've had massages, and Clover Spa has just been one of my favorite new experiences in 2022. Another new experience for me in 2022, and I just can't believe it's taken me this long to start this new routine for myself, is meditation during journaling. In 2021, we had a pod club about meditation, and I admitted that while I do believe in meditation and I believe in the benefits, and I have meditated, it wasn't a daily practice for me. One of the members of pod club said, you really should just do it. And I thought, okay, yeah, maybe one day, maybe I will one day. 2022 was the year that I decided to go ahead and incorporate meditation during my morning journaling practice. Now I look forward to it as part of my ritual. I think it really has helped me pay attention to how my body responds to what I am thinking, to notice my thoughts and have more awareness and have a little bit more calm and assurance throughout my day because I do have that space in between my thoughts. I've also started using a guided meditation with my Bluetooth sleep mask. When I go to the massage chair, I get situated in the chair and then I turn on the program that I want on the control panel. And then I also start a guided meditation on my phone to listen to through this Bluetooth sleep mask so that it blocks out any light or other people moving around, and I just hear the meditation right in my ears. I love that it's part of my whole experience. And I also use that guided meditation sometimes if I'm having trouble falling to sleep or if I wake up in the middle of the night. I like having that Bluetooth sleep mask giving me that guided meditation right in my ears and using the sleep timer on the podcast player so that it turns it off automatically when I do fall asleep. Let's talk about some lessons learned here in 2022. The first lesson is intentional problem solving. My mind always wants to solve whatever I put in front of it. So I want to be very intentional about what I put in front of it. Frequently, I catch myself trying to solve a problem that is not mine, or trying to solve a problem that isn't even something that I need to solve. I frequently also notice that I do have problems that I am not trying to solve, and I'm just suffering with the problems. So I really want to continue to be intentional. If I have a problem, I will solve it. If I am trying to solve a problem that is not my problem to solve, I will drop it. I hope you notice this problem solving in your life too. If you're not solving your own problems, you can start. And if you are trying to solve other people's problems or problems that don't apply to you, you don't have to anymore. The second lesson of 2022 is cutting all the details in half. Notice all the ideas and details that I think of and then just cut them in half. My mind is so good at coming up with details and embellishments and ideas and suggestions, and many of them are good, but many of them are many more than I need. Especially during my party planning in August, I was just a fountain of great ideas, of more details and more embellishments and more activities and more things and more decorations. I really needed to tell myself, yes, it is a good idea, and I don't have to do it. And very closely related to that, the third lesson of 2022 is that my brain offers me more than I want to do in so many areas of my life, not just party planning. My brain will just suggest that I could add this and I could create this new thing and I could experiment with this new idea. My brain just loves to give me so many ideas, more than I want. So I just need to be able to tell my brain, no. I know lots of us are people pleasers and have a hard time telling other people no. I think I have a hard time telling myself no. So that's a good lesson and I want to work on it. The next lesson of 2022 is that I love being bugged by other people. It took a few months to notice this pattern, but finally, I know that I want to notice when I am bugged by other people. I love noticing when I'm bugged by other people because then I can dig in and find out what part of that is projected onto me. Why is it bugging me? Because there's part of that that's hitting me somehow. There's part of that, whatever they're doing, it's buzzing something in me, and I really want to look inward and find out what is being buzzed. What is being hit or triggered? And I want to explore that. So I want to look forward to noticing that other people are bugging me instead of being annoyed when other people bug me. And the last lesson of 2022 is actually the intentional routines that I have incorporated and that I really appreciate. So I've already talked about the meditation while journaling and the self-care every week by going to the chill chair. Another one is that I schedule time with friends and family. I have tried to be really thoughtful and intentional about scheduling time with my friends, my family, meeting new people, and seeing everyone and spending time with them frequently. I'm trying to take advantage that I do have the openness in my schedule and the proximity to the people in my life. And even the people who are not close to me geographically, I really treasure the time that I get to talk with them on the phone or on the computer. Most recently, the new intentional routine that I have started, and I'm about 30 plus days into it now, is doing a self-awareness exercise every morning. I told you about this in the Reminders and Realization from Coach Conference episode a few weeks ago. I made the decision that I am going back to the basics. I am getting to know myself. I am going to remind myself of my own ability to have awareness about my thinking. And so I've been doing this self-awareness exercise every single day since then, and I love the results that I am getting. I am dissecting my thoughts a little bit more. I am coming up with powerful optional thoughts that I could think when my brain tells me, no, this is the only thing to think in this situation. And because I've been doing this exercise, my muscle of coming up with other things to think is getting stronger. I find myself more thoughtful. I find myself more aware of what I am doing and what I am not doing and why. It's been so interesting, and I cannot wait to invite you to share this with me next year. I am going to make a targeted, intentional invitation for everyone to work on this together with me so they can get the benefits with me. Finally, I want to share my observations about 2022 with you. All of these are basically the same thing said in a different way. And this goes along with what I mentioned at the beginning about finding that natural set point for myself between productivity and work and relaxing and enjoying. I am still untangling myself from the societal expectation or suggestion of being a quote-unquote employee in a work setting. I don't think I realized how deep that was tangled into my habits and actions and beliefs and preferences. Whenever I talk with someone who's newly retired or who has suddenly found that their schedules and their autonomy over their time has opened up, I hear the same kind of experiences, fears, and doubts that I sometimes feel. And maybe you know someone who can relate to this. I'm also embracing wearing more casual clothes and shoes and having a more casual approach to my work and vacations. In 2020, when we were all staying home, that was right when I started my coaching practice, and I felt so professional and I felt so interested in being visible and showing up in the specific way that I wanted to show up. So throughout most of 2020, while other people were relishing yoga pants and not wearing makeup, I loved putting on makeup every day and doing my hair and picking out jewelry and wearing cute clothes. And now in 2022, I have really been embracing the more casual clothes and shoes and comfort over style, which has never been part of my identity before. And it has seeped into my approach to work and vacations. I love seeing myself become more natural and casual. In the past, it was always very important for me to have a clear-cut itinerary of what would be happening, of where I'm going and where we're staying. And I have had a couple of opportunities this year to be a lot more casual about that. One vacation in particular, we woke up in the morning and we weren't sure where we were going to be staying that night. Old Bex would have freaked out, but it all worked out perfectly. I also love not feeling rushed or scheduled. I like being efficient with my time, and I like having a schedule and checking things off a list and knowing when and how things are going to happen. And it's really been interesting for me to see myself relax and let go in all of those areas. And not needing to prove, but just being where and who I am. In the past few years, part of my own resistance and my own struggle with myself has been my own artificial, personally made up need to prove myself in some way. And now I am dropping that. And I know that I really don't need to prove myself. I can just be how I am. It is such a relief and it feels so good. Earlier in this year, I noticed I don't like how I pressure myself. So I have dropped so much expectation and obligation since then. I have allowed that pendulum to swing back and forth from pressure and rush and obligation to relax and empty calendar and nothing going on. And that pendulum has just been swinging all over the place. And like I said, I really do now see that I am kind of at this natural set point, and it is much less structured and rigid and expectation filled than it has been in my younger years. I think that I am showing up in a more unstructured and unplanned way. I'm settling into it and I'm getting used to it, and I'm disconnecting from the habit of needing and wanting and believing in the benefit of structure and purpose and outcome. I'm enjoying it. Even just the frequency of podcast episodes this year. I really allowed myself to drop the expectation of standard frequency or consistency or a specific type or style. I do have more things planned for this podcast for next year, but I feel like I found a way to plan and look forward to things without feeling obligated towards them and without feeling that tension of resistance that I have felt in the past. So there you go, a whole 365 days, probably around 22 million thoughts, all summed up into about 30 minutes. Thank you for letting me share my year in review with you. I have had so much fun pulling it all together and deciding what to tell you and what to just go ahead and leave in my journal. I am wishing you a very happy new year, or wishing you a great day if you're listening to this at another time. And my plan is to be back again next week. No break between seasons this year. I'll start my podcast plan for 2023, but I am also staying loose and open about that too. I have so many things planned for January: Pod Club, Journaling in Friendship, a book signing with Amy of the Conscious Babies Alphabet, a workshop about how and why to surrender, a lot more. Make sure that you get notified of everything that I'm planning by giving me your email address at bexby.org/favorites. You can get links to all of the books and podcasts and episodes and notebooks and everything else that I mentioned in the show notes for this episode at bexby.org/later 2022. That's LATER 2022. You can also leave me a comment with some of your reflections from 2022, or let me know what we have in common or how we are polar opposites in the show notes at bexby.org/later 2022. Thank you. Bye-bye. You know what I'm really good at? Asking questions, then listening to the answer and redirecting you if you didn't answer, then showing you your thoughts from how you answered. That is part of what coaching with me is like. I don't have an agenda for you. I don't think I know better than you. I do believe in you and your capacity. If you tell me what you want for yourself, I believe it. I can see it for you. I can show you the thoughts that are keeping you from getting what you want. Then you can drop those thoughts and go get what you want. Coaching really works. Come to my site at bexby.org/coaching and book a session with me. This has been Release Your Resistance. Thank you for listening. If you like this podcast, make sure you're subscribed and leave a review on Apple Podcasts. Also, think about someone who you know who would love this episode and share it with them. There should be a share button on your app if you're listening to this on your phone. If you'd like to continue this conversation one-on-one or in real time, come visit me on my site at bexby.org to see how we can work together.